Okay, I'm going to do the Man-Skewer Boltboyz from issue 14, I think, of Stormbringer. Quite an interesting, because this is the first non-push fit of the kit. So everything up until this point has all been about just basically popping things together, and then, either they have gaps or they don't. So we've had a couple of really good ones, kits such as the Chariot, where they've been push fit, and that's not been that bad. Anyway, so time to properly use glue on these things, not just to sort of bond together pop out parts, but actually do the whole model. So I'm going to start off with the first of them, 12 and 13. There's 12, there's 13. It's kind of like a back part of the model and front part of the body. Make sure this is all nice and clean. Yes, good. Making sure there's no mold lines or anything down the side actually. But yeah, we seem to be nice and clean on that front, which is good. Now, because we're dealing, without a doubt, of a non-push fit model, obviously there's going to be hopefully no popping out parts. But it also means that these joints have to be properly cleaned up and prepared. Okay. That's not good, is it? Okay, nice and solid. Now, going on parts 14 and 15. So let's find those. There's 14, I think. That one there. Let me find 15. There's 16. My brain's decided to completely be unable to read anything today. I am completely missing this little piece. Got 14. 15's only a tiny little piece according to this. It's like looks like a tiny little scrap of rag. I think my brain's definitely decided to shut off today because I can find 17, which it's a tiny bit like it, but it's definitely not it. Ooh. There it is, right there. Gosh, very small, very hard to see that piece. Probably should have mapped these out before I started making the video. Right. I don't know why I do that. Sometimes I spend ages mapping out my positioning, and then others I don't, and I always regret the times that I don't. You might be able to tell I'm not feeling too well today, which isn't helping. But I wanted to get this done and out of the way. Right, so just making sure that these connect together. Oh dear, I am very drowsy today. Now let's see how these connect. So this little here kind of, it's supposed to pop under this arm piece. Could probably do with a pair of tweezers right now just to stabilise it while I check dry fitting. Right. So it looks to me kind of I had a bit of a moment where it went pink. I shouldn't be holding this so hard. There we go. So this is going to kind of slide into here. Just trying to get the positioning right, really, and understanding it. So just make sure you dry fit it first so that you're getting it in the right point. Yeah, it's kind of here now. Good. Now that I know where it's going, I can get it glued in. Okay, it does feel like it kind of wraps over and in like that. Okay, now it's gonna go on this side here. Again, the positioning is very important on this one. You can see where the ropes join at the top. And then you've got to just try and not get too much glue on the model when you're doing stuff like this, because you can just end up with, you know, some pretty bad connections. You'll end up with glue squirting out, so it is important to be as gentle as possible. Now it says glue him to the base. I'm not going to do that because I need to carefully mould his base. I tend to obviously do a clay base for my cruel boys, so I'm not going to put him on his base. I'm going to, however, get part 22, which is this. Okay, feels like it kind of elbow down. Yeah, and the let's get this right. Trying to get the positioning right on this because it feels like the elbow is slightly down, but not all the way. Kind of at that angle. That's how it feels so far, and that kind of holds to where this part is as well. So it feels like the overall bolt moves across properly. Actual bow itself, the crossbow, will lie across it. Okay, so 1920, or the actual heavy duty Man-Skewer, which is basically a very large or auric portable bow. 20s over here. A few fragile pieces to watch out for as we go through this. And the big news is, you know, John Blanche retiring, isn't it? Which is actually quite surprising. Well, it's not surprising. I mean, he's been there for 40 years. It shouldn't be actually surprising that he's decided that he needs a bit of quality time for himself. Obviously, there's things about his health not being great, but you know what? You know that it doesn't really matter. You know, he is the legend himself. You know, he created, you know, so much of a feeling. It's absolutely, you know, his artwork inspires so many people, you know, and obviously so many model makers, so many painters, just the whole ethos that they went for of the grimdark. Yeah, 40 years at Games Workshop. He worked there pretty much as long as I've been alive, which is actually quite incredible when you think about it. So yeah, it's quite interesting that John Blanche has reached that point where he's saying, you know what, it's time to do my own thing now. Well, I suppose it's one of those things. I mean, if you love your job, then you're not really working, are you? And I think that's kind of the core feeling for someone like John Blanche. You don't work 40 years at the same place without a love for it, without a personal deep connection to the place. So I think that's the reality of it in the end. He's worked there all that time. It must have been something that he loved doing. Right, to glue this, so main part goes there. Oh, I don't want to overdo this. So this kind of hooks over there. Yeah, so it's kind of like, you know, and without a doubt the end of an era that who will take over that role. And I you know, we know what's probably going to happen. This will be like when I don't follow football, but it'll probably be like when Alex Ferguson left Manchester United management, and it was kind of like they just could not maintain the quality, and they kept going through people. And I imagine that we're going to get a period of instability now, kind of like when someone so important disappears. 24, which is this, what I suppose it's a crank arm, I suppose. This touched on as well. Okay, so it feels like this is from this back part. tough little bit to get in this actually, because it's a very tight little point. That also the next thing is making sure that it goes into a logical position on here. The suggestion is that it kind of locks on the top. I think that's because I've not put part 25 on, I've just realised. Yeah, which is kind of this locking mechanism. That's what I've not done. Need to put that. Can't believe I missed that. Too busy musing. Where does this go? So it goes towards the back of the bow. Let me check that. Kind of hooking over there. Yeah, there we go. Filling that void, hooking over that, and locking in. That's fine. Yeah, that's rather straightforward actually. Gosh, my fingers don't want to be right today. I'm afraid that I'll probably picked a bad day for putting together a model when I'm not feeling 100%. There we go. That's where that part goes. And then it feels like this mechanism here then kind of links into it like this. Making sure I'm getting that right, so it feels like it's that way around with the arm pointing inwards. And then this will kind of fall into there by the look of it. Ooh, that's going to be a tough, yeah, that's a really tough little thing to put in. I think if I had planned this out a bit better, I probably would have made sure that I attached this arm before I put the back plate on. That and then that. Just kind of get this last little bit secured. Alright, okay, just be careful because I thought it went on the outside, but it kind of hooks over, hooks into the inside of it, which is quite odd positioning. It's going to make painting that a little bit quite difficult later on. It's also not what you might call a very strong point either. You know, obviously you've got to imagine that the weight of this whole thing is basically being pushed through that one little joint there. Okay. Let's have a look. And then part 26, this one over here goes on the other side. Hopefully this will improve the strength of that joint now. Yeah, looks like this should help improve the overall strength of this by locking those together, which is good. There we go. I actually like that. It's quite a cool bow. It's very big and beefy. Right, this guy has a back banner, part 27. Just get that thinned out there. Okay. So this back banner part can go on his back of his body. Quite interesting actually. So it looks like could keep that off for the time being. Maybe paint it separately. I'm just gonna pop it on. It's a little pin. It's a pin. You've got lined a little pin up on the back perfectly with the hole on the back. And then 9 and 10 need to slot together, so you've got to find 9. Now it looks like we do have some head options here. I'm going to assume that's in case you decide not to put the back banner on. Where's 9? Right. A bit of glue in that one. Pop it on here to form Nice helmeted head. Again, you could keep those apart and paint them separately if you wanted to. Fortunately, it's not a how to build video if I keep leaving things apart. So, right, head goes sighting along the bow here, like that. Hey, there we go. So, got that first one done, and that is the boss. Okay, so that's our little Man-Skewer boss all done. Right, decided to take a break between building the boss and building the rest of them. So I wasn't feeling great, so let me carry on now with these next two. I'll let this dry overnight, and it does seem to have dried quite solid. I was worried that it would be flimsy, but has actually done, you know, because obviously these are quite weak points, but you know what, it worked, so that's great. Okay, so the actual boys themselves. So I'll start with number 2829 on here. I'm glad that there's some alternative options on these heads. I know some people don't like the kind of one pose models that Games Workshop does quite a lot of now. It's kind of, I don't know quite how to describe it, about whether or not it's a good or a bad thing. Because I remember like the ones that you could build with a lot of freedom, and they were great for kit bashing and converting, but when you were first starting out, my goodness, it was just so difficult to keep things together. Stop bits falling off and everything, you know, when they first went main plastic on the, you know, like the kind of foot troops. So I get that some people don't like the fact that they've took away a huge amount of freedom, but by the same logic, I can see a benefit. I think model making is probably one of the lowest enjoyed aspects of the hobby for a lot of people. I, as you might guess, enjoy it. But I just know from experience, some people, there's a reason piles of plastic exist, and that's because some people, they buy on impulse and they hate the building part, and so rather than doing what they want to do, which is paint models and play with models, they spend absolutely ages putting them together. I said I'd quite happily do this all day long. Someone wanted to pay me my rates. You see, when I'm not talking through a build, it can be a very fast process, strangely enough. Right, so start letting that dry. Head into 30 and 31, get those out of here. So let me have a quick look, there's 31 over this side. Anyway, and you know, obviously, those who are pro model makers, they could take something like this and turn it into something else anyway. And that's the point, you know. Most people who kit bash, where's 30 here? You know, they know what they're doing. And they know how to do it. It's a skill they've developed over years. You know, and not just kit bashing, but model making and, you know, adding parts. Oh, for the life of me. Right, so I've got 30, which is on the arm. 31. Oh, I swear, my eyes must be going insane because oh, there it is, and it's not 30. I'm looking 30 I'm looking for. No wonder. Yeah, now I can do some simple little conversions, you know, hair, maybe a bit of fur when I need to. And I hope to be better at it one day, because I find the whole model making process quite therapeutic. Games Workshop models, though, are a very expensive thing to start chopping up if you don't know what you're doing, and I'm always conscious of that. But yeah, I mean, I can imagine that I could convert these, give them my own uniqueness. Minor adjustments so that each one looks a little bit different from the last. Okay. Now what we've got here is, oh right, so these don't attach together, right. So this goes on this arm here. Dry fitting it, make sure I'm happy with the bond. Again, it's with points like this, it's good to make sure you get the air into the joint so that the plastic melts a bit. This one here is going to go on there. Again, possibly a piece that if you're inclined to paint sub-assembly is a part that you could leave off for now. Okay. Now 32 and 33, so building up this Man-Skewer. So yeah, this Man-Skewer's in a relaxed position, as if it's just been shot. Just checking actually if we get 2 more bolts. So yeah, there's only 1 additional bolt here. It's a shame. I'd have liked to try and do the kind of just launched moment on one of these. I have to admit, I like the Cruel Boy design aesthetic. They very much stolen, looted and scrapped together approach. Again, holding true to that ethos that quite often exists within Warhammer's orcs of different games. And as well, the problem is they're so spiky, these models. Aside from cutting oneself constantly as I'm going, makes it hard to get change, you know, like hold on to them while you're cleaning them up. Right. Okay, it looks here like this can actually hold on to here quite nicely. Let me just try the dry fit on that. Not glued enough on that one, I think. Give that a chance to breathe, eh? Right, let's get this part on. So, as with the last one, it hooks over here. Let this breathe a bit. to get this to line up perfectly. Okay. I'm not going to put this on yet. I feel that this needs to have a bit more drying time, so I'm going to prep piece 34, which is the quiver. Again, I like the aesthetic that carries. If you look at, I think, the kind of roughly put together leather, looks good. And I think creating this in a distressed leather is going to be an interesting painting challenge for me. Something that I do want to create. Again, if you're a sub-assembly type painter, you may feel it a better option to leave this off for now. In fact, as a rule, I probably advise that you do exactly that. But unfortunately, how to build videos do not afford me that luxury. I mean, it's fine if I'm doing a full how to magnetize video, which I might end up doing on these Stormbringer ones if I've got a big kit and it comes complete with all the options. Right, 5 and 6. I'm still not convinced that all these parts are dry, so I'm just going to leave them a bit longer. I'm going to get head 5 and 6. And the good thing is, I think this is a spare helmet, which is great because one of my cruel boy, like the champion of my cruel boys, one of his spikes snapped, so I should be able to use those to fix it. Now this is a helmet horn by the look of it, so it looks like it goes a bit further up. I just got to work out how it attaches. A weird little addition actually. It kind of just, you could pull it further downwards if you wanted and create a full guard, but it feels like it sits more upwards on the piece. Trying to get this perfect because it looks like it could easily be put on wrong. So as you can see, it should be covering his eyes but not his mouth. Okay, I'm going to try and fit this bow now. So it's important when you're doing this to take it, you know, slowly, let the glue breathe to create a nice strong bond before sliding it in just right. There we go. Okay, so we've now got 2 of them prepared. They are looking very lovely. I like these guys. I'm not putting them on the bases because, as I said, I'm doing a clay base, but I like them. They're very cool looking. Right, okay, time for number 3. I'm kind of glad there's not a whole host of these to do. A whole unit of them. My goodness, they're a very big job. So I'm glad they've kind of come in a pack of 3 to begin with. You know, that'll give me time to almost, and of course if you've never glued a model before, give you a bit of time to get used to it. You have to be willing to set anything up to a couple of days for a real big model, just partly because you want to make sure that joints are properly glued together. And be pleased that Games Workshop no longer do metal models, because metal models were an absolute nightmare for gluing and staying together, particularly when they had plastic components. Yeah, my old Wyvern used to fall apart endlessly because I was impatient, didn't do all the things that you need to do to get a perfect model. Like just simple things like pinning the arms, okay, pinning the wings in of big dragons and stuff. Okay. Right, then 38 and 39, so I've got 39 over here. A nice taut bow on this one, about to let fly. You've got this part here. Oh, this is what I said about them being sharp and being a bit of a pain when they're sharp. A natural instinct to let go when something is stabbing you. And getting along all right now. It seems to be coming together quite nicely. Now I need piece 37 from over here, which is this part. 37 goes front right arm. Just push that in there. Good, that covers the front. Need 40 and 41. So again, quiver for 41. Part number 40, let me find it here. Armour plate. So it looks like you get quite a few spare parts on this. Now there could be any number of reasons for all these spare parts. You know, obviously it could come part of a bigger kit, so they might be technically for those, or they could be alternative weapons. So say you didn't need the boss for some reason, if you get another, say if you've already got some of these, you could use that. You would build one not as a boss. So shoulder flowing inwards, so the upper part flowing inwards. Let's tidy up this rivet and then pop that on. We'll let the bow dry a bit longer. Okay, get in there. Looks like now we need the head number 1. Good thing is no other gluing on this head, it's just a straight up head, which is good. Okay, let me just check here. I think, to be quite honest, that's it. We just need to attach this last part. Oh, fingers are shaking. Maybe I'm not as well recovered as I thought I was. Okay, there we go. That is that one all nice and done. By the look of it, doesn't appear to be anything else. So I have to admit, they are 3 very lovely, you know, beefy guys. I like them. They're really sort of fierce. Now, what we do have is some spare parts, quite a lot of them. So these are obviously alternate head layout, which is good. It looks like even like an alternate boss if you want an alternate boss head. Alternate face masks if you want to add those. Over here we've got even like a kind of alternate bow shaft. Now I think that's for the boss if you're doing him not as a boss. So there we go. That is the 3 Man-Skewer Boltboyz, all nice and done. All sorted. As I said, not a tricky build for a full-blown glue build. Hopefully you've worked out how to glue yours together. You know, thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe.